It's Whitney, and I want to welcome you to Ladies Takeover Empowerment Podcast, where we're all about helping you to succeed and become the very best version of yourself. So, on tonight, I am so excited and so honored to have none other than the apostle and a really long term father friend of mine. He is absolutely amazing, along with his wonderful wife, um, Bishop Apostle Willard Saunders and Lady Georganne Saunders. We are welcoming them to the stage on tonight. Hi there, how are
Hey,
you?
hey, Whitney.
Hey.
Thank you guys so much for coming and joining us on this evening. I really appreciate it.
No
You're
problem,
welcome.
no
You're
problem. We're
welcome.
honored to be here.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. I know you guys have busy schedules and so many other things that you could be doing, but this is actually our seventh season. This is
Wow.
our sixth episode. And so I thought that it would be great to have you guys on to talk about relationships. So we
Oh,
have so many couples that have been reaching out to me who have wanted to be a part or who have been saying that the seasons have been blessing them, helping their marriages. Those who want to be married, it's been helping them. So I was like, you know what? I have to get you guys on this season. So thank you.
Welcome.
okay. You're welcome. Hope we can help.
All
Hopefully.
right. You will. I know
Hopefully, we
you
don't miss
can.
anything else. We can help you a little bit.
No, not at all. So let's jump right in. Just tell everyone who's listening and watching a little bit about yourselves, how you guys met, and where you live.
You want to go first?
You go first.
Well, I'm Apostle Willard Saunders from Baltimore, Maryland, and pastor created for So Much More Worship Center. And how did we meet? Oh, that's interesting. For this is neither one of us is at our first marriage.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say second time around. I want to say last time around.
Last time. Perfect.
Last time around, life does not always go the way that you expect it to go, and things don't always happen when you go into life. Nobody gets married to get divorced.
Right.
Nobody does. No one does that. But things in life just happens. Things just happen, and so I think I had been divorced about 5 or 6 years or something like that. And I actually saw Lady Jane. I had been going to her church. Preaching for her sister, Pastor Colors, in Philadelphia. And I had noticed her, but no real thoughts. But I've been going to her church, and I saw her at a funeral. Wasn't it a funeral?
It was a funeral
It
in
was
Baltimore.
a funeral in Baltimore. And sometimes we say it's God and sometimes it's us. I don't know. But we like to say it's God because it makes us feel better. and so something says to me, there's your wife. She walked by, and something says to me, there's your wife. And I walked up to her. I just walked up to her, and she couldn't remember.
I believe that.
Yeah, I did. I walked up to her.
It was such an approach. I was in a conversation with like 5 women, and we were standing like in a semicircle. He walks in the middle of the circle, his back to the other women, and stood in my face.
You see what you want, you go for it.
What is your name?
She couldn't tell me her name.
I was so nervous. I could not tell him my name. Well, I told you what my name was. He was asking me what kind of work I do or something like that. And I went right into a hot flash immediately.
Are you serious?
I went right into a hot flash. I started digging in my purse for one of my little fans to cool off because I was like, gee, who is this guy asking me? And I was just nervous from the. Then he followed me around the whole funeral for the rest of that night. I ran outside.
Oh.
I ran outside because I had went with my sister. I ran outside and I looked back. He was standing at the front door looking for me.
Hey,
So funny.
hey,
You
that's
said, hey.
hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
But the other relationship was, I think it was through one of my daughters.
Later on,
Yeah.
I found out her daughter Jennifer. My nephew Tim used to live in Philadelphia, and years ago, when my mom was still alive, we used to have dinner at my house for Christmas, and we basically didn't let anybody else come to the house other than family. But this one time, Tim came and he brought Jennifer. I didn't know who she was, but I had met Jennifer before I met Jan. And Jennifer was about 14 years old.
Yeah.
And she was the most mannerly young lady that I think I met in a long, long time. To the point that I said to her, "Who is your mother?" I said, "I need to meet your mother. Because if your mother can produce a child like you, she's got to be an amazing woman."
And
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of came together like that.
Yeah.
That is
So
awesome. That is amazing.
My daughter walks around saying she's responsible for us being together.
Hey. Okay, Bishop. So are you going to say now that it was God because you don't want to give God credit? You going to say it was God?
It was God. No, it was. But I mean, that's a whole nother thing, Whitney. I said something in church on Sunday, and I don't know if this may take you in a direction that you didn't plan on going, but what both of us kind of understood, and I'll let Jan give her testimony, that that marriage is supposed to be for purpose. It's supposed to be, we make the mistake, and I know this may be controversial, but this is your podcast, so if you want to shut it off,
no, go for it.
But we make the mistake of marrying or connecting for love first, when it shouldn't be for love first. It should be for purpose first. Because if it's for purpose and then you love, you'll end up staying together. But if you love, but you don't have the same purpose, two can't walk together unless they agree. That's being unequally yoked. Equally yoked doesn't have anything with saved or unsaved. It has everything to do with purpose. The first marriage, Adam and Eve, was God told Adam, "I will make you a helpmeet." Not good for man to be alone. I will make you a helpmeet to help meet the purpose I've given you of tending the garden. So Eve was created for purpose. God puts a man and a woman together to fulfill a purpose. And when that purpose is aligned, everything else will work out. Right. And if that purpose is not aligned, I don't care how much you love each other, it won't work. One's going to pull one way, and one's going to pull one another way because they're going in two different directions.
So you think that that's why so many people get divorced?
Oh, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because their purposes get out of line. They literally want to do, when people say we grew apart from each other. Right. That's what it means. I'm going right and you're going left, and we never seem to be able to get on the same road about what we want to do with our lives and what God has called us to do with our lives. That's really what it is. And you can still love that person. Right. When I went through what I went through and through my divorce, I was married 33 years. It was never about love. Love wasn't love wasn't the issue. It was purpose.
Gotcha.
It was purpose.
Gotcha.
So, and she didn't want to get
married. I didn't.
Really?
It's crazy. You talk about whether it was God or not God. in my situation, I say it was God, because I did not want to get married again. I had just some really bad experiences, and I was determined that, okay, praise God, it didn't work. That's it, and I was just going to live my life, raise my children, enjoy my grandchildren, this, that. And the Lord, I lie not, people don't believe me. The Lord said to me one day in prayer, as a matter of fact, I was sitting in church, and he says, I'm going to give you a husband. Just as plain out of the day, I turned around, and I thought it was somebody talking to me. And I turned around, I said, the devil is a liar. That's what I said. And I never said it. I never spoke another word about it to anybody. And then I was sitting in church a few months later, and a prophet was at the church, my church, and she was ministering, and I was like hiding in the back somewhere, and she's ministering and didn't even notice me. And she walked in the back, and she said, "Oh, come here." And she pulled me out, and she repeated the exact same word. God said he's going to give you a husband.
Wow.
That night, I went on a fast. I consecrated. I cried. And then she said, God said it's because not just anybody, but he's going to give you, he can't give you any junk. She said, it's going to be real. It won't be no junk. And I rejected it. I cried. I prayed. I said, God, take it back. Take it back. I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to expose my heart. I didn't want any. I'm telling you, I went in shut-ins, 3-day fast, 24-hour fast. I did everything. I went so far as to turn in my resignation to my home church. Because I said, if God's going to do this, he's coming here, and I don't want to be here when he gets here. So I gave them my resignation that I was leaving, and I wasn't, because I did not want it. And the Lord spoke to me and said, what about your children? So then I didn't leave the church. I stayed, and God just kept talking to me and dealing with me about it. And then finally, I began to surrender. And I said, God, whatever your will is. Now, I hadn't even met him. This was like 7 years before I even met him. And I surrendered.
Wow.
Well, God, whatever you want from me, I'll accept it. And 2 weeks before I met him, I was prophesied to. In 2 weeks, you're going to meet this person. In the meantime, it was a few months before that, the prophet that spoke to me, she kept saying, he's coming, he's coming. He's watching you. He's watching you. I had no idea who this woman was talking about. And 2 weeks before I met him, my godmother was ministering at my home church, and she started ministering to me too again. And she says, God is going to bring someone into your life, and you're going to fit. And she did. And I saw this in a dream, and it said you were going to fit. And after she said that, I just started praying and asking God, why are you? I'm happy. I'm settled. My kids are happy. Why do I need to do this? And the Lord spoke to me exactly what he just said. He said, this has nothing to do with you. He said, it's about ministry. He said, it's about ministry. He says, you'll like what you'll be okay. You'll like it, but it's all about ministry. And that's what it was. And like he was saying, sometimes we marry for love, but we need to, and I try to encourage that with my daughters. It's not just about love. It's about who is supposed to be there with you when you reach your purpose and for life. Because so many times we connect with people that pull us from our purpose. Your purpose is one thing, their purpose is something else. But when you connect with the person that is destined to be there for your purpose and with you in your purpose to help you stay in purpose, it'll work. It'll fit. You'll connect. And I don't know any other way to explain it, but that's how I realized when it happened, this is God. I had to
That's
surrender.
good. I'm sorry. Are you finished? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was done. I said I just
Oh,
said I had
okay.
to surrender and accept what his will was for my life.
People marry for people. Unfortunately, in our society, people marry for love and lust,
Yeah.
love and
Mhm.
lust, love
Mhm.
and lust. And unfortunately, Whitney, that's what the church pushed us to get married, not because of love or
Yes, they
purpose, but
do.
Plus, they
But
made it
because
lust,
about.
it's better to
absolutely.
marry than to burn.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Then the
it's all
burn. Hmm.
it was all about that. And so you need to go get you something. You need to go get married. You need to go do this. And
Yeah.
they don't know a clue about each other. And then they wonder why people are messing
Nope.
around with
Now,
stuff.
don't get us wrong.
Yep.
I was very attracted to him,
I know that's
Yeah,
right.
and
yeah, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
attracted to him, and he was attracted. We were attracted to each other,
Oh yeah, no
but I
question
think it
about
was
that.
more than that pulled us together. It was more than the attraction was just the iceberg or the cream, but it was more than that. That when we actually started talking, it was more than that really pulled us together.
You have to connect at a fundamental level.
Yeah,
You have to connect at a core level.
yeah.
And if
Hmm.
you don't connect at the core level, it's just not going to work. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make, especially women make a lot of that mistake.
Yeah.
You know, they
Well,
they
Bishop, let me help me understand because I've done quite a few of these interviews with the couples.
okay.
And so this is part 2. And on the second round, I have more seasoned couples and more people who have been married longer. So, how long have you all been married?
What's this year?
This is years. We're in year. We'll be going into year
Year 7.
7 on June 9th.
Year 7.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and then you said before Bishop that you were married 33 years. And then
Yeah,
how long were you married, Lady Jan?
I was married twice before. The first time
Uh-huh.
was, I think, 10 years, and then 5.
Okay.
No,
So
2.
15.
Because
mhm.
Okay.
I got
10 and
married
2.
very
So
young.
12. Oh, it's
Mhm.
fine. It don't matter why.
Yeah, the first.
12 and then 20 and then 33. And
Mhm.
what I'm saying is collectively, that is a lot of years being married. And
That's true.
so I believe this is just a personal belief that when you get married younger versus getting married older, that it's easier to understand or you have a clearer understanding of what you want the second time around
Oh
or
no.
what
Yes.
marriage should look like
Yeah.
or you know what I shouldn't have done that. And it's
Yeah.
a lot easier to make a more to make better decisions and to make a better choice if
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to do it the second time around and to when we're going with what you said to know what your purpose is.
And
So
even though
how can you help someone, huh?
go ahead, finish what you're saying. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say, how can you help someone who is in the pursuit of marriage know to pick the right person of for their purpose when they haven't got married yet if they're younger and not necessarily in the same place that you were all were?
Well, I will say this. The thing you probably need to do is wait till you know yourself. I got engaged when I was 20 years old. I was
Wow.
20. I was 20 years old. Wasn't even out of college yet. My wife at the time wasn't even out of high school yet. You got it?
Dang.
She's 3.5 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from college in May, and I was married in July. I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
I was 21 years old.
Okay.
No, and the key is that was way too early.
Yeah.
You know why? If we're being straight on here, I
Go
did not.
ahead.
I did not know my value to the market.
Mm.
And I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that women would be attracted to me. I didn't, and then as I began to develop in my 20s, by 26, I had lost my mind. You got it? I lost my mind by the time I was 26 years old. Like, what in the world? Because they were coming from everywhere. And like, what in the world did I do?
Sure.
I did at this time,
To figure
and
out.
nobody told me. They just pushed me down the aisle. You know,
Yeah.
one of the arguments I had with the people
Yeah.
that were around. Why did you tell me? That this was going to
Yeah,
happen?
especially in Pentecost, that's what they're gonna do.
You need to go get married, get married.
I think I got married at 20. My mom died at 80.
Okay.
I got married next year. I got married at 21. And the first time I got married at 21. And I didn't know anything. And I was married for 2 years, and it was just too young. I knew absolutely nothing. My mom had just died the year before, and I got married. And then the second time I got married was a little bit older, but I was in a bad place. I was in a place of, and I didn't know that the place that I was in probably wasn't a place to be married. I was in a place where I ended up marrying someone who was 11 years older than me. And,
oh, wow, okay.
And it was the longest marriage. It was for almost 10 years, and it was very abusive. It was very abusive, physically as well as. So it was just, it was, you just had no idea. You didn't have any time to learn. And then my mother passed when I was 20 years old. So I didn't have that mother there when I was coming into a womanhood, if you would say. So I didn't have her there to share things and to talk with. And I wasn't comfortable with my sisters because everything I went to them about, that they thought it was cute. And they would just giggle and laugh and giggle and laugh. They weren't there to get the help that I needed. So I learned a lot of things, to be honest with you. Niecy Tribbett was my godmother. And I learned, I lived in the house with the Tribbett. I used to take care of, when I'd go to sit and talk with her and, get that womanly advice and help about marriage and relationships. I ended up babysitting Ty, and I had to learn. That was the only other person that I got a lot of, most of the time, because I was very private. And so I got a lot of learning things about life and a woman and that kind of thing through, sitting under her and her help working me through, even after I started having my kids. And, she was very instrumental in being that person for me. But I didn't learn a lot about who I was as a woman, because like you said, in the church, we're taught certain things. And I think a lot of things that we were taught ruined me in relationships, because if I didn't know, and then things you were told wasn't healthy things, it just made for a rough life, a rough life. So a lot of things I had to learn. Just
that's so unfortunate, because like when I think about it, it's so many of the same stories. And I got married when I was 22, and you go down the same road and hear the same stories, and you hear somebody say, I wish they had told me, or you have people putting you together with people or marrying you with certain people because of the ideas or their ideologies and what they believe is best for you and what you should or should not do. And the church has done a horrible job of showing what real marriage looks like. And
Right.
then unfortunately, now there is an extreme. So now you have the young people nowadays who are saying that if this is what marriage looks like,
They
and
don't
if
want
this is what it's supposed to be, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I don't
Yeah.
want that. If I have to grow up in a household where it's nothing but screaming and hollering, and then you say that you go to church and you love God, why would I want that? Why would I want a marriage, anything like that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me. And
Mhm.
then, matter of fact, I'll just take the opposite. I'll take the same sex rather than the opposite sex.
Yeah,
So
right,
Right.
right.
there's so many other things that play a part now that we didn't have to deal with when I was growing up, in the church today. And we just did a horrible job. The church did a horrible job, horrible
And
job.
it's still doing a
Yes,
horrible
it's
job.
still,
And
yeah.
and this, I'll
Yeah.
give you this. But here's what I learned. It took me years to understand this. Um, the reason, I'm telling you from a man's point of view, the reason that a
Hmm.
lot of men would push young men to get married was supposedly so they wouldn't sleep
Hmm.
around, right? And,
Right.
and
Right.
supposedly, right? And I'm going to tell you what I had to say to someone at one point. It didn't stop you. Why did you think it was going to stop me?
Oh, come on, say
You
that.
understand? What, you got married and it didn't stop you
From sleeping on.
from sleeping around.
Okay.
Well, why did you think making me get married
Thank
was
you.
going to be
And
any
then why
different?
give that advice?
And yeah,
Right.
and all you did was perpetuate the same thing.
Mhm.
The
I had to learn some
cycle.
things
Yes.
on my own. I had to learn some things in my own life on my own. Nobody told me. My father died when I was 35, but still certain things he didn't tell me.
Right.
I had to learn. And what I did was I made it my business to tell my sons,
Mhm.
right? I
Come
got 3 sons.
on.
I made it my business. I told them, this is your dad. This is who I am. This is what I did. This is what I was taught. This is what I showed. Don't do this.
Yes. Don't go down that
Don't
road.
go down this road.
That's good.
This
Don't
is
do
what,
it.
because I realized somebody had to go to the cross, and that's what's happening. Somebody had to take the hit. So I took the hit.
Good. That's wonderful. Well, explain this to me. Let's jump to this part. Um, how do you all deal with conflict in your marriage? It's inevitable,
Right.
and you said, Lady Jan, that you were pleading and begging with God, please, I don't want to do this. And which means that you had some pretty traumatic experiences in your past marriage. I can only imagine, based off of what you said. So not dealing with those, but
Right.
just
Right.
in your current marriage, what is some conflicts that you guys have gone through, and how do you guys deal with
Um, I like what I have now because, and I shared that with him. We talked about this, I think, once before. Um, in dealing with conflicts. In the past, when I had to deal with conflicts, I had no voice. I had
that?
no say, and so I had no voice. It was whatever,
Wow.
whatever the law was. I had to grow. Of course, I went through a lot of counseling and stuff like that. But what I love about with him is that I can have a voice. Sometimes my voice is a little more louder than others, but it's because of that, what I went through, that I have to kind of, okay, bring it back a little bit. He don't need it that hard, but he allows me to feel comfortable with having a voice with him, and I can say it, and I know that it's not going to, he's not going to walk away. He's not going to leave me. He's not going to hurt me. He might say, that's not good. He'll say, you can't say that, or you can't be that way, or he'll say, that doesn't work for me, and what we do now is try to make sure we try to do what it is that works for each other, because we definitely don't want to feel what we felt in the past or go through what we went through in the past. So it's like a real hard effort to try to make sure that we don't do that. Now, I've learned with conflict to, and it's working for me. I don't try to fight it out. I pray. Even when this is what I have learned to do, how to deal with it. Even when I might feel I'm right, or even if I'm wrong, I just pray and ask God to help me or help with this situation, and ask God to open the make us how do you do? He has to, you sometimes when you're in conflict with someone, if both of you are trying to get your point across, you're never going to hear that other person. So my prayer is always, God has to make our hearts malleable to be able to receive what the other person is saying. And the only way I find that is I just pray. I go and pray, and I say, God, I don't know how to express this. I don't know how to say this. I don't understand where he's coming from. I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand his side. So I ask God, help me understand. Help me to see. And sometimes God has to settle the dust. Sometimes he has to quiet us down, or have to put us on something else. But one of the things we try not to do is to be in the house and not speaking. That's just not we no. We can't be in the house and just don't speak to each other.
And we got to talk. And let me just share this. This is where the love comes in, Whitney. 1 John 4:18 says, perfect love casts out all fear. And one of the New Living Translation says, anyone that knows fear has never known love. And one of the problems is in relationships, if people are afraid to deal with conflict or to be honest or say stuff because they feel like they might lose that person. You know what I'm saying? Or they may lose the relationship and hide stuff.
Right.
And they don't tell stuff. They don't say stuff. And the key is be able to be honest and know you're going to still be together after the honesty. And that's what builds up. No, you hurt me. No, I didn't like that.
Right.
You know, I feel that. And then, understand, it says husbands dwell with your wives according to knowledge, but it's both ways, right? It's not only that I got to know her, she's got to also know me and know my temperament. Our temperaments are different when it comes to arguing or temperament. Yeah. She is Philly. She is.
He just.
I shut down. I shut down.
Really?
Oh, I shut down completely. I shut down. I shut down because what happens is in my previous relationship, I dealt with that a lot. And what I found out is that I was abused. And when I hear a lot of, I was abused. I hear like, I have internally, I just completely shut down. I shut down to the degree that I can't even. And I'm a pretty smart guy. I can't think.
I've seen him, and particularly when I first met him, I've seen him when that would happen to him. Not when I did it, but when I've experienced it. But even they're similar. I can give you different sides. But when I first met him, and when he was in that in a combative situation, like going through the divorce and things like that, he would literally be like stuttering. He'd be so nervous, almost shaking. And I was like, that's not good. That is not good. The Lord has, strengthened him from that point. Now, if I'm very, if I get very, trying to argue it, because for me, I'm like, let's talk it out. That's how I am. I want to talk it out. Let's get it out. Let's get all the cards on the table. What is this and what is that and da 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 da. And for him, it was so bad that even when, and it's not really an argument, but if it's uncomfortable and if it's tension, he's like, and you have to I've learned that I have to kind of massage him to a comfortable place where he can respond, even if his response is maybe it can hurt, or like he's saying what he feels and that might hurt me, but I have to kind of massage him to a place where he can respond, because what he does is he shuts down, and that's not a good thing, because I need to know what he's thinking, what he's feeling,
Right.
or whatever it is that I'm doing or saying that's wrong, I can correct it or straighten it out. No, so it's like almost like massaging. Just tell me.
Is what I hear you saying is like you guys respect each other's boundaries to a degree.
Exactly right. That's what I was going to say, is that you have to, there's no real set way for dealing with conflict,
right,
but you have to know.
Yeah.
You have to know what it is. And like what I know about her is that, once the steam is out of the pot cools down, so let's out the pot. Don't try to grab the pot while the steam is coming out. It's kind of hot. Let it cool down. And once the pot cools down, then you can have some tea.
He's also learned about my steam is he's learned how to use my steam for his benefits. when we were going for our house.
That's true.
And the realtor,
this is a true story.
The realtor was giving us such a hard time, and he was mismanaging
the finance guy,
not setting things
it was a mess.
up. Yeah. And my husband's talking to him on the phone, and we almost lost a lot of money because of his lax work and things like that. And so he calls me in his office one day while he's talking to the guy on the phone, and he's like, "This is ridiculous." Da, 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 da. And the guy is like, he said, "Well, sir, I've done everything I can do." And da, da, da. So then he turns the phone around and he says, he lets me have it.
She let him have it.
And I said, this is unacceptable.
This is
unacceptable. And I told that, I just went off on him. I said, we've got truckers out here. We've got we don't know anything about this. I'm not a realtor. I don't. And I'm all this. When I realized when it was over, he says, "Okay, have a good day." I was like, "You just used me."
We made about $10,000 out of that phone call. They had messed up so badly. They said, "We're going to give you some money back." We went to the
good.
He's learned how to use.
You dwelt with her according to knowledge, all right.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, you're going to handle this.
He's learned how to use my things. When he has talked as much as he can talk, and he's like, "Okay, you know what? Have at it."
That is funny. Well, you mentioned this. Let me ask you this, and you can tell me if you don't want to answer. What advice do you have for husbands and wives when dealing with their ex-spouses while you guys are currently married?
That's a tough one. And I think that each situation is different.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's an answer for that, Whitney, because it's so situational. It is so subjective to the individual situation. You would hope, and I can't go too deeply into it, but you would hope that everything would work out. But you're dealing with other people and other attitudes and other feelings. And that's why God, I'll make it clear. The Bible says it's not God's will that we divorce, right? That's not God, but he suffered it because of the hardness of men's heart. That was never God's desire. Right. And my mama used to say this, we use the scripture, those whom God has joined together, let no man put asunder.
Let no man.
Mother told me, she said, God didn't put everybody together.
Right.
Yeah, got that right.
God didn't do all of this. But so when you have exes, you try to make it as amicable as you can. You try to do that. Yeah. I think the ones that, however, and you can't always do that, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
But the ones you want to try to work out with is the children. if their children
If they're
involved,
small
if their children or
involved.
even older, like we both have grown children. And one of the things that I don't interfere with is her relationship with her children. Right. And I claim it's mine as well.
That's
But we
good.
understand it's different.
Yeah.
It's different when you get married like we are. We're older
Mhm.
and you got grown children.
Yeah.
To try to mesh that
Mhm.
into one family ain't happening.
Yeah.
Because
it has
they're-
to work
Yeah.
it has to be own. When they're little, you can do that.
Yeah.
But when they're grown and they even got their own children,
Yeah.
that's a whole
Yeah.
it's a whole different couple
Yes,
of
it is.
From
Yeah.
me, and as far as my ex-husband and his wife, we're friends.
Oh,
Because
that's
I was
great.
divorced longer, I was divorced longer than Bishop was. Because we got married at, like I said, we were very, very young. So my older kids, because my younger one's father, he died, but I was always the type of person, I don't hold grudges in regards to, like, with my children's fathers.
Mhm.
That was something that I
Mhm.
just determined I was not going to do. But I also never
Mhm.
interfered with their relationship with their father. I didn't do that either. So my ex-husband, my older kid's dad, and his wife, we're friends. In fact, all of us, he knows them, they know
That
Bishop,
is
and
great.
them at times. We
That is
were,
great. Lady Jen, let me tell you something. God forbid if something was to happen to Bishop and I tomorrow, I am not going to be his friend. We are not being best friends. There is no way on
we're,
God's green earth.
we're not best friends, but we're friends.
Yeah, and that's unusual.
It's very unusual. It's very unusual. We were. I'm going to say this real quick because my daughter, it made a mark on my daughter. My oldest daughter and her husband bought a house last year, and June of last year they had a housewarming, and all the family and everyone came up, and we were there, and her dad and his wife was there, and we were standing at the front door, the four of us, and they were introducing themselves. This is her mom, that's her husband, that's her step. He's like, I'm her stepdad, and he's like, I'm her dad, and this is her stepmom. And I mean, it was like a cohesive. People were asking, like, oh my God,
that's unusual.
that's
right. It is.
And he was like, my daughter was so proud of the fact that he was saying, this is my stepdaughter. She's my stepdaughter. She's my daughter. That's my daughter. He was so proud of that. She said, he took ownership, Mom. And she loved it.
But let me tell you something.
She loved it.
Since we're going to be real, it took me a moment to get there.
Yeah. It took a while.
It didn't start out that way.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, and it's not anything that happens to children. It's just because you know me, Whitney. I love my children, and I'm always been one to claim my children and how that worked.
Yeah.
And so it took a while for me to work. And to be honest with you, we're 7 years in, and there's some things that are just now coming together. Mm-hmm. You got it. It's just some things that are just now coming together. And this is when you just got to trust God and understand that. And some things may work, some things may not work.
And you just gotta let it run its course.
But you have to remember, and question, you have to remember what's most important. What's most important decision between the two people that chose to get married.
Right.
That's what's most important. And you don't let the exes or anything else get in the way with that, because sometimes they'll try to do that.
I'm telling you, I cannot make that promise. If Bishop was to get remarried, I would be terrible. I know it. I would be terrible.
I'll talk to you about that offline, because you fit the category of most people. You fit the category.
And you want to know what the sad part is? The sad part is that most people don't want the person. They just don't want them to be happy. They don't want them to be with anybody else. That's the sad
exactly
part.
what it is. No, that's exactly what it is.
That's the sad part.
They don't want to lose what they thought they had possession of.
Yes.
And sometimes they do things to make themselves feel good, like I still got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen.
That is the sad part. Just doing stuff just to be terrible on purpose, you know, just to be terrible. So, just
People for
because,
you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
people for you.
It is for real, but I would be one of those people. I'm pretty sure I would be, but
I'm from a different mode, I guess. I'm just a different. I don't like trauma around me, and I don't like stresses around me. If we can't work the thing out that's between us, then I'd rather just not. You just not be there, or I just not be there. I like the people.
But Lady
that
Jan, you're a great person. You're a really great person.
And I just like.
And let me just say this.
Oh, thank you.
Let me just say this. I really appreciate how happy you have made my apostle. You have made him so happy. I have seen him be so sad. So sad. Like, I mean, like where he's crying, like crying real tears. And now to see him shouting, his countenance, and no one but you and God could make him at his weakest moments be as strong as he is. It's amazing to see. So let me just say thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just say thank you. You are taking great care of him.
It comes easy.
Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that brings me to this question. What quality do you value most in your spouse, and why?
Let me go first. You want to go
You
first?
go first.
She's intuitive. If there's any quality that I can value about Jan, and I don't know if this is spiritual or not, she's very, very loving. She's like a lioness. That she will fight for you, fight about you, even while she's fighting with you. But her greatest thing is her intuitiveness. She can see things, she can feel things, and then the care. You won't believe this. One of the things that attracted me to her, and I told her this, was, and this is going to seem like a small thing, was the ability for me to be mad, have an argument, and it be okay. I never experienced that before, because what I experienced before, if I got mad about something, then the other person got mad at me for being mad. And what I was mad about was never ever considered. So I couldn't even express how I felt. I couldn't express it. With her, I can express it. I can say how I feel. I can express it. And she can bring me the intuitiveness side of it. Is she gives me to think about things that I normally would not think about, and to see it in ways that and especially if you think it's something that's hurting me, this is what you need to do. Here's what you need, because I'm not wired that way. I'm just not wired that way. I'm a fix-it person. I'm a comforting person. I'm not wired that way. And so, I mean, at a real base level, that's really what it is. Now your turn.
That's beautiful.
What I love most about him is how he understands me and how he gets me. I'm sometimes I think I'm weird. I know I do. Sometimes I think I'm weird. I think I'm different, but he sees me in a way that I've always wanted to be seen. he sees beyond the physical, and he sees inside me. He sees that little girl that that was hurt, and he always knows. He has a way of knowing, and I have to be careful with him because of this. He has a way of knowing things about me, and it's not the gift, not the prophet, just him. He has a way of knowing things, and there's just things even in his voice that just calms me. I used to tell him that I just would call because I just wanted to hear his voice. It did things that just calmed my spirit. And I could tell, and he's right with the intuitive, because I could tell, I could feel when something is on his mind or whatever. I could feel it. I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He'll go, "Oh, nothing, no. Oh no, there's something wrong. I can feel it." Yeah, I can feel it. But he gets me. He understands me. I don't have to fight to be seen or heard to him. He sees me. And for me, that has been a hard thing, to be seen for who I am, not the church lady, not the shouting girl, not the preacher, me. And we can be that to each other. My daughter sort of kind of asked me the same kind of question in a way. And I told her, I said, because, and even my coworkers, I have people ask me, I said, because he lets me, I can be myself. I'm comfortable. And I don't know how many people that I can be comfortable with. I can be me with this guy.
That's good.
That's awesome. I have to be careful with him because he literally will do anything. If I asked him, and I think about that so often, and I remind myself to be careful what I ask him, whatever I ask, in jest, in passing, or just. So I don't say too much about what I want or whatever. Or if I say it is there, I got it, and just some things that I thought about in passing it, around Christmas time, and there I was on Christmas Day, and he did it, and I was on the floor crying. I wasn't really asking. It's just. He did it. He did it. So he gets me.
It's beautiful. I was telling my mom that, I was telling her that people a lot of times when they get married, the mistake that people make is that they think that they're marrying a person because of their stature, their looks, what they can give them, all of those great things. But a lot of times people are missing out on their love languages, how a person meets their needs. There's so many different things that play into a long lasting relationship. And I'll never forget, my husband is the same exact way. And so like I'll say things and I'm not thinking anything of it, and he would just do. And it's because his love language was actually gifts. And it took me a long time to realize that's how he displayed his love. And then I would tell him, I didn't want that, or I don't need that. So then he would be offended because he thought I did not appreciate the gift that he gave. And especially when it's big gifts. We're not talking about little gifts. We're talking about like cars and like trips around the world and like Louis Vuitton purses and Louis Vuitton shoes. Like, yes, like these are expensive gifts that I did not. I like mention it like I'm walking by, like, woo, like that, keep walking type of thing. I don't need those things. I may like them, but I don't need them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once if money ever runs out, then how do you show your love?
Right.
Or if you may happen to get someone else something similar, then does that mean you love them to the same degree you love me? Like, I don't really know. So
Right.
I would prefer quality time or words of affirmation versus gift giving. So it took us years to work through that, to really understand each other, because it would really cause friction with us, because he would really be upset when I would say, like, didn't need that. He was like really, really upset. So, like, I think that it is amazing that you are able to acknowledge, because we were so young. We were
Yeah.
20 and he was I was 22 and he was 25. So it wasn't something that you just like light bulbs. So I think that this platform and people speaking and talking and being honest is really a way to just help people to hear, because people need to know that they're not by themselves, and there's answers and there's tools out there that people can get for their marriages so that they can last a little bit longer, you know?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you all. Let me give you one last question, if that's okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Give me 3 words you would say to your younger self before you got married. And then
Wait.
explain.
Wait. That's really it. I mean, I think, I don't know if I got 3 words, because that's the main word. Wait, learn, experience.
Yeah, I think for me,
Wait, learn, experience. Give yourself some time to learn some things about yourself and other people, but more importantly about yourself. What I told you was the truth. When I say my value to the market, when I said that earlier, I didn't know that this is the truth. I did not know that women were attracted to me. And I didn't know what types of women were attracted to me and what types of women I was really attracted to, not physically, intellectually, experiment.
There's a difference.
Yeah, where we can have conversations and talk about things, do things. I just did not know. I didn't know. And as I developed as a person and got more experience as a person, but I'm getting this experience while I'm married.
Yeah.
You got it.
Wow.
And
Because
that
you weren't exposed to it.
I wasn't exposed to it. And then life came along and so here's life. So, and some things you can only get with time. There's some things you can only get with time. And I also agree that other people's experience is a good barometer. You can learn from other people's experience if you're willing to listen and if they're willing to share.
Right.
That's why these kinds of forums are so good. It's not that, you and your husband got married 22, 25, but even 25 is a good number. 22 is a good number. We got married 21, 18.
Yeah. I actually encouraged my children to not even consider marriage until 25, because I wanted it, because I did it so young. I said, you need to experience life. You need to experience, finishing school, living on your own, traveling, establishing yourself, doing some things, experience that before you consider marriage. Now that was just a thought that I had. Ironically, their father felt the same way, and he was telling them, without knowing that I was saying it, he was telling them the same thing, because I think both of us, because he grew up in a church too, so we knew what we did not allow us to experience life, and like Bishop was saying, even learn who we were, what we liked, what we didn't like. We had no clue. We just had no clue. And so I think it's important that for me, I would say, like he said, experience. I did a little. I did a lot more by the time I met that bishop, but before I got married, initially I did maybe a little, nothing real, but just a little bit. But I would have experience would be the thing for me.
You don't know who, and this is probably on the more spiritual side, Whitney. The scripture says, "Thou will not leave my soul in hell, neither will you suffer me to see corruption." But he said, "But you will show me the path of life." And then he says, "In your presence is the fullness of joy, and your right hand there are pleasures forevermore." It's the path of life part. And the problem is, you don't know who to have in your life or to exclude from your life until you know yourself. And that takes a little bit of time. I teach about life agendas and how to have, and part of life agenda is know to who to include and who to exclude, right? I just taught a lesson. I'm doing what I am, what God says I am. And I said, I made this statement: if you can't grow with me, you can't go with me.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happens is, a lot of times, if you don't know yourself and how you see yourself growing and going, you can connect with somebody that you genuinely love. I mean, really love, but they're stopping your progress in life. And that's because you didn't know who to connect with in the first place. And then you end up either end up with stunted growth, or you end up in divorce, or you end up cheating. You end up something happens because something has to give. So give yourself, I'll tell anybody that's watching this, just give yourself and pray and seek the Lord and give yourself some time to know you, to know, what it is that you like and what you don't like, what your love languages are, know you, and then you can make the right decision about who you want in your life.
Because you can't connect with someone else and try to learn and know somebody else if you don't even know yourself. That's hard. And in marriage, you gotta know yourself. That person's trying to learn you, and you don't even know you. It just makes everything. It makes everything so much harder and so much more difficult. You gotta know you. You gotta know who you are, what your likes are, what your dislikes, what you can take, what you can handle, and what you can't deal with. You gotta know those. I like the fact that now I can say it, that when we married at this age, I knew what I could handle, what I couldn't handle, what I could talk, what I could do, what I couldn't do. I was at a place at that time. Of course, age and time brought you to that place, but I knew what it is who I was. So I could present to him who I was because I knew who I was. And what my likes, my dislikes were. Other than that, and they talk about you present a false person. Yes, you do if you don't know who you are. But when you know who you are, you don't have to present a false person. This is me. And then that person, sees you for you. Now, there are always going to be things about you that sometimes you don't know about you until you connect with somebody else and then think, oh, I didn't know that I was that kind of person. Some things you don't learn until after you are, in with someone, but you got to know who you are. You got to be assured of yourself and confident. One of the things he used to say to me when we first met, because I grew up with a lot of insecurities, very shy, extremely bashful, and very insecure. And a lot of things he used to say to me that I had to be careful not to self-sabotage myself, or sometimes a relationship because of things in what you may have experienced in the past. You can self-sabotage, and you can always, especially after we got married, even though I knew it was God, I knew this was it, but I still had the ball is going to drop at some point because this is too good. This is everything. that ball is going to drop at some point. And so sometimes and he had to tell me, he says, you got to release, because I would be living like bracing myself, for something, for the ball to drop. And I had to realize, even if the ball drops, he wasn't going nowhere.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Lady Jan or Bishop, either one of you, real quick, part of getting to know yourself or re-getting to know yourself, how important is going to therapy?
I recommend it 1,000%.
100.
And
we still go.
I still go.
And
I want to say something that's going to be really controversial for all the saved folk on the line. I don't have a saved therapist.
Yes.
And the reason is, and I'm going to be very honest with you, I don't need to go to therapy and have somebody put me on a guilt trip. You know the word of the Lord says, you know the word God said, and try to steer in a certain. I need to go to therapy and say what I want to say. If I need to cuss, I need to cuss. If I need to fuss, I need somebody who's totally divested, not invested in me at all. I've been going to therapy now maybe 12 years.
Wow.
And I still go. I just went last Thursday. I still go.
Wow.
Little nondescript little lady. And sometimes I go now, not so much for therapeutic stuff. It's almost now just a conversation, but she helped me walk through some things, helped me to see some things about myself outside of my church prism. I have nothing against saved church therapists, especially for marriages. I think for marriages, it's really good because they can bring you together in a spiritual way. That's not what I needed. I personally needed somebody to help me get my head together with my father, with my mother, with some of the traumas that I experienced early on in my life. And I'm not saying that others can't do it. I'm just telling you what worked for me. And sometimes you want people to pray for you, but you really need somebody to sit down and listen to you.
And I go, because it's not always about, yes, we can do couples therapies, but when you know that, like he just said, that you've had some traumas that you need to deal with before you can even sit down and try to put something together. You need to go and deal with some of the traumas that I had to deal with some of the traumas that I've had that caused me to act or respond to things in a certain way where I may not need to, but I do respond to. Why do that? Well, because this what happened before, but that may not necessarily be what's going to happen here. But because of those traumas and they weren't dealt with, you need to walk through those things. I had to deal with something, I think it was year before last, and I prayed about it, I fasted and everything, and the Lord showed me in my fast what I had to attack. And I had to deal with the anger that I had from the situation. And the Lord showed me that in the fast. From the fast and from my fasting and praying, I went to counseling to help me to deal with that anger, because it's not something that I could deal with myself. Everything is, we can pray, but we can go and get the help from the people that have been skilled to help you with it. And so once that the Lord helped me to identify what was still in me, then I was able to go and sit and I just talk, and we walk through things and we talk things out and help me to see things sometimes the way you can't see it on your own, just laying everything out or just talking everything out. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I kind of get that. I kind of understand now. Oh, okay. So, I've been seeing a counselor, after I basically started, I think after my abusive marriage, because I had to go through that. My children, we had to go through all that.
I'm sure.
And I've been doing it like off and on for some time. And I encourage it to a lot of people.
I mean, I was going to just say that I think that it is necessary because what people end up doing is they seek counseling from their friends and family when they
Yeah.
really need to go to a counselor.
A real one.
Someone outside, like Bishop said, disconnected from everything that knows you, and it's just a blank slate, and they can help you talk about all the things and get those things out, and then help you decipher, okay, had you thought about this? Had you thought about that?
Somebody that you're not afraid of being honest with, because all of us put on risk when we talk to anybody that has any influence at all in our lives, and we don't. It's difficult to be honest.
And you're going to say things to that person that you know. You're going to say things to them that you know that you want them to hear. You're not going to always tell them the real truth of what you are seeing and feeling. You're not going to tell them, you don't want them to see you in a negative way. So you're not going to tell them the real truth. But when you get with someone who don't have any dogs in the fight, you can say everything. They can help you. Okay. You know, that was kind of bad right there. You know, but I understand why you said that. I understand why you did that.
But I was gone through some, not really gone through, but it was a young man here here that I was trying to help. Let's put it like that. And I tried to help him, and he gave me his cheek to hit, right? And then he came back and he asked me to forgive him, and I tried to help him again, and this had just happened. Then he did it again, right? And I was angry. And I go see my counselor, and I'm upset. And you know what she said to me? She said, "You got no more cheeks to turn." I said, "Oh yeah, you turn the first cheek, you turn the other cheek, you got no more cheeks."
No more.
That's what I want to hear. You don't turn no more cheeks, because I would be doing that. So she knows me well enough to know, no, you don't have to keep taking that.
Yeah, let it go.
You know, I know you're a man of God. I understand it, but you don't have to keep taking that. You don't have to be the doormat. You don't have to get. That's what she was sharing with me. You don't have any more cheeks to turn. You know, and that's just one of the benefits. I just remember that. I'm gonna preach that. No more cheeks. That's what she said. You got no more cheeks to turn. I told her, I said, you just earned your money today. I'm going home. I got it.
Oh, well, I want you guys to know that I really appreciate you. I mean, this has been absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of you. And so anything we can do to support you, we'll do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I love you all. So everyone, this has been episode 6 of season 7, Ladies Takeover Empowerment Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.